dealing with two main branches of yoga. One which is called Hatha Yoga and another which is called Raja Yoga. Has somebody heard the word Hatha Yoga before? Nobody's heard the word Hatha Yoga? Well, the Hatha Yoga, when you say Hatha Yoga, generally you're referring to the more physical aspect of yoga, which involves the asanas, the physical postures, pranayam, the breath control processes. But in the science of yoga, what we are calling Hatha Yoga is just a preparatory step. It's just preparing the ground for the higher phases of yoga, which is called Raja Yoga. And Raja Yoga refers to the way of union through meditation. Now, why were these physical techniques created? Originally, the word asana in yoga, which is the physical posture, I explained this the other day in the other class if you were here. It initially just simply meant the posture in which the yogi will be sitting for meditation. Just a very simple posture, just the seated posture, either the half lotus or the full lotus. And that was quite simply the asana, nothing more than that. But much later on it was found that when people are trying to sit in meditation, they find that it's almost an impossibility. Perhaps some of you have experienced this in the previous classes when you're here. You're trying to sit down in the meditation and bring the activity of your mind to a silence. But no matter what, whether you do something or you do nothing, the mind just simply will not cooperate. It's like an untamed horse, a wild animal, filled with so much passion, filled with so much desire and expectation and craving. And this is how we are living in our daily life. Just see how the activity of the mind is. It's always jumping from one object to the next object, to the next object, to the next object. Its energies are scattered all over the place. But it's such a rare experience in us, in just a single human lifetime. It's such a rare experience that any human being has even a few moments of silence, of a settled mind. So these yogis thought, okay, thousands of years ago, they said, how can we create certain techniques which can prepare the nervous system, which can prepare the mind, purify the energies of the body, in such a way that once you start sitting in the meditation, you find it's a far more natural and friendly process. You naturally start dissolving into it. Because this is something that is often misunderstood, that when we say meditation, we should not think about meditation as a technique. Nobody can meditate. Meditation is not something that can happen as an effort of the mind. So, what is meditation? If I were to clarify it, it would probably be much more useful to understand what meditation is not, rather than understanding what is meditation. The English word meditation is not the right word for what we're referring to in yoga. That's an English word. If you look at the English word meditation in the dictionary, you'll find it means something like to contemplate or to consider. So for example, I'm thinking about love or contemplating about truth. You can say in the English language that you're meditating on truth. But meditation, what we're talking about in yoga, is a totally different phenomenon. It's called Dhyana. And there's no exact translation of the word Dhyana in English, but the closest that comes to it is meditation. So they're just using that generally speaking. But meditation is the exact opposite. Dhyana is the exact opposite of meditation. Because contemplation is an effort of the mind. Now, when we've been sitting here at the end of the classes, we were practicing something called anapanasati, watchfulness of breathing, sitting down silently and just observing the sensation of the breath, keeping the mind one-pointed. But that's not meditation either. That is called concentration, which is Dharana. So what is meditation? It's not fixing the mind on one point. It's not contemplating on a certain subject. There was one teacher in India, his name was Krishnamurti, one of the rare enlightened beings just in the last 100 years. And he used a description of meditation which I found it to be very practical and down to earth. He simply calls meditation choiceless awareness. When you're simply alert, totally awake, but that awareness is not arising as an effort of the mind. It's just surfacing spontaneously. So this is why in Zen there's one very short maxim. It says, sitting silently, doing nothing. The spring comes and the grass grows by itself. That is precisely the quality of a meditative consciousness. When the activity of the mind gradually starts coming to a silence, and you find the more the mind comes to a silence, you find the field of your perception and your consciousness gradually starts expanding itself. So the role of attention has such a significant role to play in the spiritual process, not just in the spiritual process, in life itself. Because we'll find that wherever your attention is not sensitive, that is where you're out of tune with life. Isn't it so? Suppose you're doing something as simple as drinking a cup of tea, but you're not being totally awake, totally alert. In your mind, you're caught in a dream world, entangled in maybe so many different imaginations, thoughts of the past, expectations about the future. But the actual experience where your attention is so sharp and nothing else is arising in your perception except the taste of the tea, what is the quality of such a mind? In Japan there's a very beautiful ceremony, which is, maybe some of you are familiar with it, called the tea ceremony. In the Zen monasteries, a group of disciples, they will all sit down silently in one room, and the tea server will preparing the tea in the other room. But as they're sitting down silently, still, this is part of their meditation. The flame of their awareness remains continuous. So just sitting down in one place, waiting for the tea, remaining absolutely alert within yourself. The tea server will come, pour the tea into the cup, and as this is happening still, you keep the stream of mindfulness, the stream of awareness flowing. The scent of the tea perhaps, as you pick up the teacup, feeling the sensation of the tea in your hands, the warmth, drinking the tea, how the tea travels down into your throat, comes into the stomach, being perceptive to such small details which otherwise you would completely miss. And like this, the whole ceremony will be carried out in silence, and a group of people will sit like this, simply drinking the tea. No gods are worshipped in the temple, no idols are worshipped in the temple, and the whole ceremony is symbolic for something which is very simple, practical, and straightforward. That in life, if you approach anything with awareness, you can transform even the most ordinary things into something that's sacred and divine. So, what is the role of attention? So in yoga, this Raja Yoga, the three higher phases of yoga, it's called Dharana, concentration, Dhyana, meditation, and finally Samadhi. So what is concentration? Fixing the mind on one point. The mind gets distracted, drifts out of the present moment, and as we talked about, this is the nature of the mind, jumping from one object to another. It's energy scattered all over the place. But when you find the mind has drifted out of the present moment, observing silently within yourself and then bringing the mind back to one point. That was the thing that the teachers and the parents and nobody else ever told me. Shifting the mind, being drifted out of the present moment, but then bringing your attention back again and again to one point. Yes, exactly. And this very act of bringing your attention back again and again to one point, this helps to sharpen the concentrative power of the mind. So in yoga, in Zen, that's called joriki, the concentrative power of the mind. So, now what is meditation? You find when your mind is flowing evenly on one point without the need to bring it back again and again and again, just an ongoing stream of energy, uninterrupted, continuously flowing, just 100% one-pointed attention, that's when we say your concentration has transformed into what we're calling meditation. Now your awareness becomes spontaneous, natural, no longer an effort of the mind. And the deeper this awareness becomes, you find now gradually you're making a shift from the outer to the inner. So that means from your conscious mind, you're moving into your subconscious, moving into your unconscious mind. The energy of your mind and the senses starts turning inwards onto itself. It reminds me of one symbol called the Ouroboros. Maybe, I don't know if some of you have seen it. It's a symbol of a snake, but the snake is swallowing its own tail. And that's exactly what the process is in meditation. Turning the energy of your mind and your senses inwards, but with awareness. There's nothing mystical or so unusual about this. Everybody does this every day. When you're going to sleep, what happens? Sensory withdrawal. The mind starts shifting, turning inwards from the outer to the inner. But one thing is not there. You lose your awareness. You become as if in a trance-like state, or if you're in a dream, you're like in a zombie-like state. Have you ever noticed when you're in a dream, it's as if you're just like a puppet on the strings, not really in control of the experience, not really grounded in the experience. Sometimes when you're in the dream, actually most of the time, you're not even aware that you're in the dream. Only once you come back to your wakefulness, you say, I was in the dream. So when we're in that state, we're in a bit of like a zombie-like state, but there's no true awareness that's there. In psychology, they know this right now, that you can even enter into a dream, but still remaining totally awake and conscious within yourself. So this is what they're calling lucid dreaming. You're in the dream, but lucid, awake. As if you're hearing me right now, as if you're seeing me right now, but just you're not in your conscious mind. That is the only difference. In yoga, we've always known this. There's a process in yoga called dream yoga. How to enter into the dream, but turning the dream into a meditative experience so that your awareness continues flowing. And think about it. Let's say a human being lives up to 75 years. How many hours, how many years in your life are you spending just on dream or dreamless sleep? That's about 1/3 of your life. So that means if a person lives up to 75 years, for at least 25 years, he's either in dream or dreamless sleep. So in this dream yoga, they thought, okay, this 25 years, why not use it as a process which is supportive for your inner well-being? You can even turn those 25 years into a process of meditation. But that is not really significant. The important thing is to understand is that in meditation you're making a shift from your conscious mind to your subconscious to your unconscious, but you can explore every dimension of what the mind is, but with awareness. And eventually you find when your attention has, and your senses and the energy of your mind has become so withdrawn, then you discover what is the source beneath all this. What is the source from where all your thoughts are coming and going, all your emotions are coming and going? So what is that fundamental ground which is running beneath all your experience? So when you come to a direct perception of that level of your being, which is the very source from where all this is happening, then we say you've come to self-realization. You've come to a direct perception of what is your true nature. There's another dimension within the human being which is not subject to coming and going, which cannot be added or subtracted. Your body can be added or subtracted. You gradually pick it up, you gradually accumulate it. One day this body will wither away and dissolve, right? One day it's just going to become soil. So the body can be added or subtracted. The mind is not the mind. Isn't it also the case with the mind? The mind is a certain accumulation of information, experience, memories. That is also something that can be added or subtracted from your being. But is there a possibility of knowing something else within you, which is beginningless and endless, which is birthless and deathless? If there is such a dimension, don't take my word for it. So that is what the whole process of yoga involves.